favorite tag team. This guy here is Silencer. The guy sitting next to me is always a Cryptic Mac. That's Tony.
Aye!
Today, we're going to do a little Shisha review for us, for you.
Yeah, for us.
Yeah, for us. Well, we do these things for our own amusement. But also to help you guys. But I'm going to be doing a little Shisha review from Fusion. Going to be checking out the Red Rhino.
Mmm. Red Bull knockoff. Yummy.
It's true. It does have a unique resemblance to the energy drink, but here's what we got. Container, just like this. Comes through. It's a 250 gram size. Matt Jordan was nice enough to send us this from Hookah Company out in California. He wanted us to do a little evaluation, and we wanted to bust out Peppermint Larry. He's the two-hose Sub-Zero hookah that Jonathan sent us from Sahara Smoke, and the Vortex Bowl on the top.
And if you notice, I've been playing around since, you know, the stem can be completely disassembled. I've been playing around where the ice catcher goes.
We think it looks better this way.
I think it looks better, and I think it cools better.
It really does. When we started playing around with the fact that in our last review you can unscrew all the components of this particular hookah, like each of these components this connects, and it's supposed to be mounted right up here by the ashtray at the very top, but we brought it down a little bit, and you can do that and get away with it. I mean, not only that, but it seems to be working a lot better too.
That and you can take and put ice cubes around the actual chamber itself, or the stem itself, full ice cubes, and let them melt down inside, which is quite fun.
Yeah, it really is. So we wanted to try it in this configuration for you. Here's our Shisha of the day. Very, very wet cut. Very, very drippy, as some people would describe. Regarding the actual slice itself, it is an actual leaf-style tobacco. It's just cut a lot more finely than I was expecting. It's unusual. If I had to call it... moisture level-wise, it reminds me of Alfacher, maybe even Starbuzz, depending on what kind of batch you get. I mean, that's just some goopy stuff. But the leaf cut, the natural way it's done, the presence of the stems and the twigs that are through this, I don't know, for some reason the way it's sliced, it's like a much, slightly more fine Alfacher-style cut. So, now one of the problems, of course, that I mentioned a second ago is you are going to see some stems in here. There's actually going to be a pretty decent amount of them. But they're not big enough that they're going to affect the session of your smoke if you get them in there on accident. The ones you do have to watch for, though, are the tree branch ones. Here we go. Things like that guy there under my thumb, that big black mask that I'm scooting around. That's a giant twig you'll have to watch. So there will be some attention that you have to have paid whenever you're packing this stuff up. As far as the smell's concerned, like Tony said, and like everyone said about Red Rhino so far, very similar to Red Bull, the energy drink. Sort of a sugary base to it. I don't know. Personally, I drink Red Bulls. I have occasionally. But for what I use them for, I pretty much describe them as very sweet, very pink ass. That's kind of what Red Bull smells like. But this is a little bit nicer. It has more of a berry mix to it, I think. Getting the presence of a couple of berries in there, plus that carbonated, caffeinated smell you get whenever you take a smell of a can of Red Bull, that little metallic to it. It's kind of nice. I think it's very authentic to the flavor, but they also made it a little bit fruitier, which is nice too, because some people, let's face it, just don't like the taste of Red Bull. I like what Red Bull does, but let's face it, I wouldn't set the stuff and drink it like it was a can of Pepsi. As far as how it is smoking,
if you've been paying attention to me, it's smoking well.
The Cloud Size seems to be doing pretty good with this Fusion line stuff. Tony and me have not messed around with very many blends of this yet, but as you can see, it's doing pretty good for itself.
Nice, fluffy, dense clouds. Starbuzz-esque.
A little bit less so.
Yeah.
A little bit less so, depending on what
it's
brand
esque.
you get. Yeah. But in terms of its overall density, they're good clouds. They're fun to play with. If you keep a little bit of ice either in your base or up in your catcher, depending on what style you have, it'll make them nice and dense for you over time. The flavor is translating really well into this one. I mean, on the exhale, you get that sugary carbonation you would get off of doing a can of Red Bull, but also a little bit of a berryness to it, so it sweetens it up some.
It's really good. I really enjoy it. Not coughing because of the Shisha. But
Oh, those are fun. But
it is tasty.
Yeah, it's a good blend. I think, you know, this one's been covered a lot of times by people so far, but it really is a more unique blend. If you're looking for something that doesn't have, say, Shisha can pretty much be split into 3 categories. Alcohol-based shishas, fruit and sweet-based shishas, and coffee shishas. Those are pretty much, for all intents and purposes, most of the flavors you're going to run across are going to fall into one of those 3 categories. This one's a nice break from that, because on the one hand you have the slightly sweeter, you know, a little bit of a fruit undertone to it, but at the same time you also have a more of a, you know, complex, like a carbonated beverage almost, without the, you know, pain of actually bubbling through carbonated drinks. Anyone who's used like Pepsi in their base knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. But it's nice because it's a synthesis of a couple of different flavors, and I like it. I think it's a really nice blend.
Yeah.
I recommend picking this one up, certainly. A couple of drawbacks that we have noticed, though. This is our second or third run through Fusion so far, and the flavor duration is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, flavor, you pack what you normally say an hour bowl, and you'll get maybe 45 minutes of good, consistent flavor, and then all of a sudden it just vanishes. I mean, it's still there, very, very small, but you still get, you know, fun with clouds.
Yeah, this is a problem we're running into with a lot of the Fusion blends. Maybe it's because they need to up the amount of glycerin, or maybe it's because they need to dye it more and then apply the same amount of glycerin. I'm not really sure, but even when you do even a full session bowl on most of the Fusion products we've sampled, this one's no exception. The flavor will last you in a pretty strong way for about 45 minutes. And then after that, it just becomes very muted. Yeah. It's very much a part of the background. Like, you can still taste it if you're paying attention, but not sweet and pleasant the whole time like we're accustomed to for the first, you know, 30 minutes or so of the smoke session. So it does have a bit of a problem there. That is one of the drawbacks of the Fusion line as a whole that I've noticed, not just this one in particular. But, I don't know. I mean, the heat management's also another issue. It's a little touchy. It can be. Because to get it going requires a decent amount of heat in the first place to get it doing these nice
poofy clouds. But like we did, we stood there for like, I think I stood up for maybe a minute with the windscreen over it. Just long enough to get the coals hot, get the bowl hot, and then pull the windscreen off and the clouds sustain.
Yeah, so you have to concentrate it, get the whole bowl and the surface area of your foil completely hot first. Then remove it, and then let it sustain itself. And it's a little tricky. It takes maybe a shot or two to get it right. But all in all, it doesn't make it a bad shisha. There's certainly ones out there that are more temperamental to heat management than this stuff is.
Yeah, and after you get the first, you know, heat going, it sustains pretty well. I mean, as you saw halfway through this video, I stood up for a couple seconds, held the windscreen over, pulled it back off. Just to up the cloud size a little bit, because I mean, big clouds look better in the video.
Absolutely. Well, you gotta give this stuff a fair shake. But I don't know if I had to pick a number on this one. I think it's definitely above average. It's one of the nicer blends out there. It is different, which is something I really like, because after a while, you can only smoke so many bowls of grape flavored shisha before they all start tasting the same. But
yay, another grape.
But no, this stuff here is it's a nice break in terms of flavor. It's very different. I kind of like that. Flavor duration is a problem. Heat management's a little touchy, but there's certainly it doesn't detract away from it.
It's a good shisha.
Yeah. My number overall, I think, it's earned a solid 8. I think that's fair.
I agree.
It loses the 2 points because of its flavor issues and because of the heat management thing, but an 8 overall because it is above average and because it does have a very unique characteristic to it, which I really do enjoy. But anyway, that's another one wrapped up from me and him.
Yep.
If you like seeing more stuff with me and this guy in it, feel free to check us out on hookahdomain.com. Otherwise, stay tuned, keep on smoking, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Bye-bye.